Hello, and welcome to the Night Sky Reader. I'm here with a story to help you relax, meditate, or gently drift to sleep. Tonight, the quiet wheel around Polaris. Settle in, close your eyes if you'd like, and let's begin. At the edge of the pasture, one pale star seems almost pinned above a weathered fence post. The post is gray in the last of the blue light, split a little at the top, with a single metal staple driven into it years ago and still holding there. For a moment the staple catches what remains of dusk. Above it, a modest star holds steady enough to feel placed there on purpose, though nothing in the sky is placed for you. You stop beside the post and face north. There is no telescope, no blanket spread with careful ceremony, no expectation that the night will do anything quickly. The field lies open and plain, short grass, a low wire fence running away in either direction, a dark line of trees far off where the land rises slightly. The day has withdrawn, but not all at once. The west still carries a faded wash of light, and because of that the northern sky looks quieter than it really is. One star, then a second. Most of the field still belongs to shadow and memory. You rest a hand on the post. The wood has lost the day's warmth. The staple is colder than the wood, smooth on its curve, then rough where rust has lifted the metal. Above it that same star remains, not bright in a commanding way, just present. Polaris is rarely the brightest thing in view. It earns attention another way. It stays near where north is, and near where north is, it stays. At first, this does not feel like much. If you came hoping for immediate wonder, the sky offers something quieter. It offers a nearly still point above an ordinary fence line. It offers the chance to keep looking long enough for nearly still to separate itself from moving. So you choose the simplest arrangement available, your feet in the grass, the fence post in front of you, the staple at the top, Polaris nearly above it. You let that alignment become the whole method of the night. As the blue drains from the sky, the post darkens into shape rather than texture. You can still see the grain in the wood if you look down at it, but when you raise your eyes again, the northern sky is becoming easier to read than the field. More stars appear with no drama. They do not switch on. They come forward. A few first, then enough to make the darkness look deeper rather than emptier. If you lift your gaze away from the post and look a little wider, the familiar shape of the Big Dipper can be found without much trouble. It is not near the horizon where so many people first learn it. Here it sits as part of the larger northern sky, tilted at the angle the season and the hour happen to give it. The bowl stands out first, then the handle, curved and easy once your eye has accepted the scale of the dark. The two stars at the outer edge of the bowl point toward Polaris, and that is enough orientation for a mind that wants a small map, something to do. You take the map and then set it down. Back to the post, back to the staple, back to Polaris nearly above them both. This is the useful part of a fixed vantage. You do not need to keep sweeping the whole sky in search of understanding. You do not need to make the night produce a highlight. A fence post is enough. It is a human-made thing, rough and practical, sunk into the ground for reasons that have nothing to do with astronomy, and because it stays where it is, the sky becomes legible against it. The pasture cools. You feel it first on the backs of your hands, then along your cheeks, then lower where the air settles into the grass. The early insect sounds are still there but thinner now, no longer broad enough to fill the field. Somewhere far off, too faint to place, a rural sound carries and fades. Then quiet returns with very little to prove it. Dark adaptation is not a revelation. It is a change in ratio. Less ground, more sky. Less certainty in the field, more in the points above it. The staple that glinted a moment ago is now only a small shape at the post's crown. The top of the wood is still visible, but the details are going. In exchange, the sky gains depth, a faint star beside a brighter one. A thin scatter you would have missed half an hour ago. The black between stars no longer looks flat. It looks clear. On the opposite side of Polaris from the Big Dipper, Cassiopeia begins to stand out. At first it is just a crooked brightness. Then the familiar angular W becomes hard to ignore once seen. It is quieter than the Dipper, smaller to the casual eye, and easy to overlook if you are chasing the obvious patterns. But there it is, answering from the other side of Polaris. One known shape here, another there, with the nearly fixed star between them. The geometry is simple enough to hold without effort. Polaris near the center, the Dipper on one side, Cassiopeia on the other, fainter stars circling with them, too dim to demand names. Now you understand what you are waiting for. That is not the same as seeing it yet. You know the sky is turning because Earth is turning. You have always known this in the daytime sense, the calendar sense, the classroom sense, but knowledge arrives faster than perception. Standing in a field at the fence line, you can still feel as if the stars have set themselves in place and are willing to hold the arrangement indefinitely. Even with the post as a marker, the motion stays below the threshold of certainty. That is where the night asks the most from you. Not effort exactly, but the refusal to reset the experiment. It would be easy to step away, walk 10 yards down the fence, come back, and change the frame without meaning to. Easy to check the time and break the scale into units too small for the eye. Easy to decide that nothing visible is happening because nothing dramatic is happening. Instead, you keep returning to the same line, post, staple, Polaris. The steady little fact that north remains north whether or not you feel rewarded. The field continues to settle. The smell of grass deepens as the air cools, green giving way to the damp mineral scent that rises after warmth leaves the ground. The top wire of the fence fades until you know where it is more by the spacing of posts than by sight. The tree line becomes a single dark edge. Above it, the northern sky opens wider as the last residue of evening disappears. You touch the post again, colder now. The staple almost wet feeling with cold, though it is still dry. Once your hand leaves it, the metal disappears back into darkness. Above that darkness, Polaris remains nearly where it was. Not exactly nailed to the sky, not perfectly still, but so slow in its own apparent circle that for hours it can serve as a center. When you look back to the Big Dipper, the first change is modest enough to distrust. It seems a little more tilted against the frame of the field, a little farther along in its turn around Polaris. The shape itself is unchanged. Bowl and handle remain themselves, but the angle is not quite the angle you met earlier. You hold this possibility lightly because the eye can be suggestible, and because the night feels calmer when you do not rush to confirm it. Another stretch of time passes in the way night passes when nobody is breaking it into appointments. The insects are fewer. The air has enough chill to gather at your cuffs and collar. Dew begins its invisible work. The grass darkens further. Then past visibility, the world nearest you shrinks. The world above grows crowded, but not busy. More stars are visible than the early evening allowed, and because of that the space around Polaris looks more clearly part of a wheel. The staple at the top of the post is gone to sight now. You know exactly where it is. 2 fingers find it if you reach. That small arc of metal, once bright enough to flash with the last daylight, has become a thing of touch only. This marks the hours as clearly as anything. Early evening was a world of visible objects. Late night belongs more and more to shapes, temperatures, and the patience of your eyes. The Big Dipper has moved. Not guessed at, not perhaps, but moved. Something in the chest releases with that. Not a surprise. You have been expecting it, but the body knows the difference between anticipating a thing and having it confirmed. The patience of the last few hours settles into something quieter than patience. It becomes simple knowledge, and simple knowledge, it turns out, has a particular weight to it. Clean and low and still. The Dipper is still on the same broad side of Polaris, still unmistakable, still one of the easiest patterns in the sky to carry in memory, but its bowl now leans at a new angle, and the handle sweeps from a different direction than it did when the pasture still held some blue. The change is not theatrical. No star has rushed, no line has been drawn for you. Yet the difference is now large enough that the earlier position can be felt in the body like the memory of where a chair stood before someone shifted it. Cassiopeia confirms it. The W has turned on the far side of Polaris, answering the Dipper across the same center. Once that opposite motion becomes clear, doubt leaves more fully. You are not looking at one familiar pattern and imagining its drift. You are watching a whole northern arrangement revolve around the star that appears almost fixed. The fence post has done its work by doing nothing at all. It has remained itself. A weathered length of wood planted for livestock and boundary, carrying an old staple, ignoring the sky. Because it ignores the sky, it gives your attention something plain and trustworthy to return to. Polaris nearly above it, as before, the Dipper no longer where it began. Cassiopeia shifted in answer. Fainter circumpolar stars, which would never have held your attention alone, now making more sense as parts of the same slow rotation. There is a temptation at this point to seize the moment, to turn it into a neat conclusion and feel finished, the wish to summarize. The wish to turn observation into accomplishment. But the night is better if you let the fact remain larger than the sentence about it. So you stay with the visible things. The wood under your palm, the damp coolness settled into your sleeves, the dark pasture with almost no detail left in it, Polaris modest and dependable, the Dipper at a new angle, Cassiopeia doing the same on the other side. Several hours from when you arrived, the turning has become unmistakable in the most peaceful way possible. You no longer need to compare carefully. The comparison is already made. The opening sky and the present sky occupy the same memory at once, and the difference between them is broad enough to rest in. Polaris still stands nearly above the fence post. Its own apparent movement is so small against the post that the center holds. Around that center, the Big Dipper has gone on with its long circle. Cassiopeia has answered in kind. What looked fixed when you first arrived now reveals itself as a structure of motion, not motion discovered by instruments or time-lapse or special effort, motion revealed by standing in one place long enough. What you have watched is Earth's rotation made visible by patience. The ground beneath you turns eastward, the northern sky appears to wheel around the line of Earth's axis, and Polaris lies close enough to that line to seem nearly still. The fact is old, exact, and entirely undramatic. Nothing extraordinary had to happen tonight for you to witness it. The usual world was enough. Late night has a different texture from evening. The field is not just darker, it is more settled in itself. The small sounds that remain stand farther apart. Dew gathers on the fence wire and in the grass you no longer see. The post feels dense with cold. The staple is sharper now, a clean crescent of chill at the top of the wood. Above it the same alignment holds, almost plain in its simplicity. A post, a star, the long, slow motion of everything else. You no longer need new information. The proof has arrived. From here the sky can keep turning without requiring commentary. The Dipper continues its faithful change in angle. Cassiopeia continues opposite it. Fainter stars hold their places within the same larger sweep. Nothing in the scene asks to be improved. And because nothing asks, your own attention loosens. You can let your gaze soften now, not away from the sky, just less intent on catching it out, less concerned with measurement. The northern view remains clear and open. The tree line is still a dark edge at the bottom of things. The pasture is still a cool blank around your feet. The fence post is mostly silhouette, its split top barely separable from the darkness except when your hand confirms it. The staple that first flashed with dusk has become only a remembered glint and a cold place for your fingertips. Polaris remains nearly above that place. The Big Dipper is no longer where it began, not spectacle, not surprise, just the clean certainty that the motion was present from the start, too gradual for a hurried mind and easy enough for a patient one. The night does not need to give you anything else. It has already shown what it came to show. The post is dark. The staple holds no light. Polaris is still nearly above it. Around that steady point, the stars have clearly changed their places, and the field beneath them has gone quiet enough to let you rest inside the fact. Thank you for spending this time with the Night Sky Reader. May your night be peaceful. Until next time, rest well.